Alright, guys. So, this one is starting keeping a family milk cow. This one, the videos are probably going to be a little bit longer. This one just gets right into it, and it's a brief history of dairying. And I'm going to try to break these up into short videos. So, here we go. A brief history of dairying. Alright, hold on. The cow is the most productive, efficient creature on Earth. She provides fresh milk, which is used to produce cream, butter, and cheese, and promotes human health and happiness. She helps homesteaders and small farmers turn a profit while they provide bounty for the community. She provides rich manure for your garden or land and enhances the quality of your life. Originally published in the early 1970s as The Cow Economy and reprinted many times since, Keeping a Family Milk Cow is the book that has launched thousands of small-scale dairy farmers and families who are raising healthy cows holistically in accordance with their true nature. This Chelsea Green edition of a nearly 40-year-old classic has been revised and updated to incorporate new information on the raw milk debate, the conversation about A1 versus A2 milk, totally grass-fed dairies, practical advice for everyday chores, updated procedures for cow emergencies, and more. The book offers answers to frequently asked first-time questions such as, should I get a cow? How much space do I need? In addition, the author provides extensive information on the health benefits of untreated milk, how to milk a cow effectively with ease, details on calving and breeding, the importance of hay quality and how to feed your cow properly, fencing and pasture management, treating milk fever and other diseases and disorders, and making butter, yogurt, and cheese. Keeping a Family Milk Cow not only has stood the test of time, but it remains the go-to inspirational manual for raising a family milk cow. And I recommend buying every single one of the books that I'm, giving you guys information out of. So, and that's all this is just giving you guys information. A brief history of dairying. Dairying in its most reductionist form, merely swiping some milk from a cooperative grazing animal, goes so many thousands of years back into prehistory that we can't get a fix on it. It is known that Laplanders herded and milked reindeer 11,000 years ago. 30,000 years ago, people in the High Sinai were confining and breeding antelope with the aid of fences, a human invention arguably as important as the spear. Wherever antelope, reindeer, sheep, camels, goats, or cattle have been brought under human control, they have been milked. The value of milk is obvious and doesn't need to be taught or invented. Among the very earliest human artifacts are vessels containing milky residues. Horses, too, have been milked. The hordes of Genghis Khan swept out Asia 8 centuries ago on tough, speedy horses. They triumphed everywhere on account of two important military advantages. They used stirrups, thus freeing both hands to employ weapons, and they had a lightweight, high-protein food source always handy, mare's milk, ingeniously dried by their wives prior to their raids. Each day a horseman put about half a pound of dried milk into a leathered pouch, along with a bit of water, and by dinner time had a tasty fermented yogurt-like food. No army travels far, nor fights well without provisions, because he didn't have to wait for the quartermaster to catch up. Genghis Khan always maintained the advantage of surprise. Really? Okay, Stinker. I guess you can play with them, but if you start to carry them off, they're mine. Alright. More peaceable folks milked goats and sheep. Sheep and goats have the advantage of being able to thrive on steep, rocky land, and they reproduce rapidly. Gestation takes only 5 months, and they often have twins, and they are old enough to breed by 1 year of age. But wherever people have the choice, they choose the cow. The cow entered into a relationship with humankind at least 10,000 years ago, and she has been lovingly nurtured and defended throughout Africa, Asia, and Europe ever since. So long ago was she chosen, and so much was she valued that her wild ancestors have vanished. The last known wild cow, called an auroch, died over 500 years ago in Poland. The cow is the only domestic animal for which there is no wild population pool. Like corn, the staple of the Aztecs that now exists only as farm seed with no wild sisters, the cow now lives in symbiosis with humans. Archaeologists and anthropologists have shown much greater interest in the role of grains in human history, speaking of what came before as mere herding. In fact, discussions of the modern diet seemed oblivious to the long prehistory of herding. Arable farming, or grain, began about 10,000 years ago. Most writers link arable farming together with animal husbandry, apparently assuming they sprang up together. Many otherwise well researched sources state that dairy products are a comparatively recent addition to the human menu. To the contrary, grain is the recent inclusion in the human diet, not dairy foods. This false assumption about dairy foods appears to be linked to the widespread belief that milk production is dependent upon grain. To produce grain in useful quantities requires rich flat lands such as floodplains. It also requires a huge amount of energy, available in antiquity only where complex cultures had developed. Slaves provided this energy. The more slaves you had, the more grain you could grow. And the more grain you could grow, the more slaves you could afford, thus giving rise to a wealthy class able to afford monumental tombs and other durable artifacts of civilization. Grazing animals have been around for millions of years, thriving on grass. They are not dependent on grain. For many thousands of those years, they were herded and milked, tasks that require neither slaves nor even permanent dwellings. Though it is not their natural fodder, cattle will eat grain. In fact, when a grain surplus occurs, it can be fed to cattle, which thrive and fatten, as we know very well. This expedient has been practiced from antiquity and continues to this day in the American Corn Belt. If the price of corn falls, farmers may decide to put it through cattle, instead of selling at a loss. In impoverished parts of the globe, the animals then become walking food storage units, later to be eaten, or, as in the United States, to be sold at auctions. Herding animals requires only the availability of shepherds and can be done on any kind of land from rocky mountainsides to kelp-strewn beaches. Wherever herbivores have been herded, their milk as well as their meat became an important part of the local diet. Herbivores convert grass, bushes, and weeds into high-grade, readily available food. They do this with enormous efficiency, whether in captivity or not. But when herded, they free up a great deal of human time for other pursuits. Humans with extra time and energy tend to engage in commerce, the arts, invention, and war, not necessarily in that order. Dairying has played its part in these pursuits. Dairying has also led to the use of the fence, which in antiquity served less to keep animals from running away than to protect them from predators at night. Ancient Sumerian writings reveal that fencing also provided a means for keeping the best milk-producing animals close at hand. But fencing forfeits the transcendent advantage of grazing animals. That they find their forfeits in transcendent that they find their own food. Blech. It is only feasible where there are servants to fetch and carry to feed the animals, like grain production. The fence is evidence of a complex hierarchical culture, and both are natural byproducts of the civilizing influence of dairying. The fence served another function basic to animal husbandry. It permitted selective breeding of cattle, sheep, and goats. By confining smaller and more docile males and permitting only these to breed, and at least 10,000 years ago, people were manipulating animal genetics. Domestic breeds began to have smaller horns and to be of a more manageable size. This was particularly important in the case of cattle, which, like all dairy animals, were often handled by women and children. The wild cattle were huge and quite dangerous. Although in actual numbers worldwide there have always been more sheep and goats being milked than cows. With this selective breeding practiced by early cultures, the cow very quickly became the most prized dairy animal. The next one is going to be the cow, premier dairy choice. So I'm going to make these videos pretty short, just so they don't get kind of out of hand and way too long. So I'm going to go ahead and get off from here and get this one up there. Do your research, guys. Family milk cow, dairy cows. Do your research. If you're looking into that, do your research. Pinterest, YouTube, look into it. Do your research. If you're looking at goats, do your research. If you're looking at sheep, do your research. Every single one of them, do your research. It doesn't matter. Just do your research, you guys. I will get off from here and I will see you guys in the next video. Check your subscriptions. Make sure you're still subscribed, as YouTube will unsubscribe people. And hit that notification bell and click on all to make sure you get the notifications. And like and share the videos with everyone on all your platforms. Just get them out there. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.